All right. Hey, everybody. I'm Allison with Flick Direct, and I'm speaking with Ray Nutt of Fathom Events. Hello. How are you?
Good, Allison, how you doing?
I'm good. Thanks for speaking with us today. I know we usually do this once a year, but this is a nice time to follow up.
Absolutely. It's good seeing you at CinemaCon, and I'm glad we got a lot of good stuff going on here.
We're going to get to all that in a minute. I got a couple of questions. First, though, I want to know how the writers and actors strike has affected Fathom, or if it has at all.
Well, it actually has affected us, I think, in a positive way because all exhibitors looking for content, and most of our content was already in the can and everything. So we have a vast amount of content that is coming in. It came during the summer and is coming in Q4 as well. So. We're filling up screens with some really good content. So I'm kind of a guy that's glass half full, and yeah, we're certainly bringing it. I look at it as a very positive thing for us. I'm also glad that the writers have, gotten their situation settled and everything. It's not good for the industry to have it go on, and hopefully the actors will get their act together as well, and studios settle there. So I'm pretty positive that will happen, and we'll be back to normal hopefully fairly soon.
Yeah, I hope so too. It affects so many people, not just the writers or the actors. It's, all the crew on the films. And in a way, it affects us too, because if there's no new content, we have nothing to report. And I love the fact that Fathom is available for the exhibitors because they are going to be looking for more and more content until things get back to normal. When we spoke at CinemaCon, you talked about specialty distribution and you were implementing that. So give me an update.
Well, it's going really as planned, and it's even better. I think our first when we first go back and explain. We're introducing ourselves as a specialty distributor, and that sort of subdivides into two categories. One would be event cinema, where we do continue to do events on a one night, two-night basis.
Yeah.
That will always be a core business of ours, and that is going really, really well. But the other category that we're producing is special engagements, and our first film outside the box with special engagements was The Blind. And that just opened last week. And it's been number 4 at the box office all week long. And we just got a whole bunch of holdovers from our friends at Exhibition and everything. So we're very, very happy. And it's a wonderful film about, Phil Robertson from Duck Dynasty and his whole family, and a story of redemption. And what makes me feel good about this is that you have a number of feedbacks that we're getting from different people, and people are saying this saved my marriage, it changed my life, and the most exciting part of my job is that if we can program content on the screen that makes a difference in somebody's life in a positive way, then that's pretty gratifying.
Yeah, absolutely. I love stories like that. And we had talked about that too, The Blind, back at CinemaCon. So I'm glad that that has now come to fruition and it's doing well. You also mentioned when we texted back and forth a little bit about Coraline being back in the theaters for a little bit and how well it did. Talk to me a little bit about that, because I love Coraline. I love all of that stop motion animation, and I don't even know how they say it. Is it Leica Lakai Studios does a phenomenal job of that.
Yeah, we partnered with Leica and also Park Circus on that, and we've done that in the past, but it was remastered, and I think that made a big difference, and it just blew it out of the water at the box office. We ran that thing, it's a 14-year-old picture. We ran it on a Monday and Tuesday in August, and it did $5 million in 2 days, and then had to bring it back 2 weeks later for another month. And it did another $2 million. So it was a $7 million picture. I think it opened a lot of eyes in terms of how some of the classics, which we do generally anyway, can really draw an audience. And so very, very happy with the results of that. And more to come on that title, too, for maybe next year.
I like Kubo and the Two Strings, just putting my 2 cents in there. I noticed on the website that you have some Met Live events coming up, and I wanted just to ask you about the logistics of that. How difficult is that? Um, are there glitches? How do you handle all of that?
Well, we just did a Canelo fight. We've done boxing in the past and so forth. So no, we have what we call our digital broadcast network. It's the largest live network into movie theaters. It's 1,100 theaters, 2,200 screens here in the United States, and we have a whole team that does a fantastic job on the engineering side of interfacing with whoever's producing the live content and then making sure it gets into theaters. We're also launching our 17th season of the Metropolitan Opera here, and with a title called Dead Man Walking. I was in New York last week.
Yeah.
And saw at the Met Gala and saw the performance, and it is spectacular. The Met is doing a tremendous job of catering to a new audience, a diverse audience, younger audience, to try to bring a different audience into theaters and more people to see the opera. And if there's a lot of people that I've talked to that said, I'm not necessarily a traditional opera fan, but I want to go see Malcolm X or Dead Man Walking. These are titles that have never hit the opera stage before. And it was fantastic, I have to tell you.
Yeah, I saw that and I thought, oh, that's really interesting. That's a little out of the box for them. But I love that they're diversifying, and I love that you can bring it to more audiences who don't have the opportunity to get to New York. Um, I noticed also on the website that you have some things already planned out for 6 months in advance. So, how far out do you start thinking about these events, and when can people go and purchase those tickets? How far in advance?
Well, we actually had a huge leadership meeting yesterday with all of our team, and we're looking at the programming calendar and excuse me, pretty much filling it up for 2024. It's actually more than 6 months. We're going to have a wonderful year of classic movies that we're about ready to announce. So there'll be 12 movies that Leonard Maltin actually introduces and gives you some behind the scenes or information that you didn't know about, like Wizard of Oz or Gone with the Wind or something of that sort. And so there'll be a number of Ghibli titles, anime titles that we bring to the table. We did 11 this year, and they're doing spectacular. We bundled them together to celebrate 50 years of Miyazaki in filmmaking in the anime space. And there'll be a number of different original programming. One of the things I'm also kind of excited about is we've announced the Broadway musical Waitress that opens in December with Sarah Bareilles. And we think that was, excuse me, captured on Broadway, and we think that that's going to be pretty big for us, for people who not only can't get to the Met, but can't get to Broadway to see maybe a musical. And that was a pretty big musical when it was on Broadway.
Yeah, I remember the movie and thinking, I will never look at a pie the same way again. So I know the musical did very well. And I love that you can bring these things to audiences closer to home to them because, I'm sure you're aware, New York is not that cheap. And at this point, it's kind of underwater. So, all right, tell me what we haven't gone over that you want to let people know about that's coming up from Fathom.
Oh, we also have a horror series. We do very well with horror pictures, and we have Fright Fest. We just got off a run with The Exorcist, House of a Thousand Corpses. We're partnering again with Rob Zombie, who's just an absolute. We've got The Birds coming up, the 60th anniversary. I always start feeling old when I hear The Birds is 60 years old or whatever, but who'd have thought a bunch of birds could create horror and everything? And it's just a fantastic movie, and Leonard will have an intro with that as well. Just a number of different things. We've got Mother Teresa and Me, which is a movie about Mother Teresa that opens today. And is going to run, and I checked on the hourlies a little bit earlier, and it was doing very, very well. So just a little bit for everything. Our website is fathomevents.com, and people can go on there and sort by any of the categories that we have, and there's a little bit of something for everybody on there.
Yes, I know the Birds' 60th anniversary, which also makes me feel a little old because even though I wasn't around when it first came out, I do remember seeing it. Two, I think I don't like birds because of that movie. Three, Alfred Hitchcock is brilliant because those birds, for the most part, sit there. How menacing can birds be that are just sitting there? But they really are. It's a terrifying film. So I think it'll do really well for audiences. I think older audiences are going to want to bring their children and grandchildren to see it. So I think it also it kind of brings together that generational feeling too as well, so that the older folks can bring it to the younger folks who love horror, and I love that you doing the horror thing as well. I always ask you, is there some movie or something that you really want to get that you haven't been able to get yet and distribute? Is there a personal favorite of yours that you guys haven't gone after yet?
You know what? One of my proudest moments was the Andrea Bocelli, the Journey that we did last year, and it was absolutely spectacular. We partnered with TBN on that, and I think more of that. Music has become recently, as you know, focus in the industry, and we also have some music content that is coming up. We got I don't know if you remember the classic movie The Last Waltz, that was a Martin Scorsese directed movie.
Yeah.
And it's got, all kinds of. There's an introduction by Robbie Robertson, the late Robbie Robertson.
Wow.
That was one of the last things he did before he passed.
Nice.
That's kind of exciting to be able to see that. And then, we got an all-star tribute to Lee Greenwood coming up. We captured two K-Love concerts at Red Rocks here in Denver that is Christian music that is available to people. And then we've got a film about George Jones. It's 10 years since he's passed, and so a little bit of music, variety of music that's in there as well. So, we've got a lot of things that are up our sleeve that I can't announce now, but we'll be happy to jump back on when we can announce it and go from there.
We'll talk about that at CinemaCon. I'll put that in the back of my head for Vegas. I just want to ask you one other question about the industry, because it's been so interesting with after COVID. You seem to get one or two movies that are huge, huge blockbusters. Top Gun Maverick, this year, Barbie. Why do you think that the industry has changed like that? Do you have any speculation? I mean, some other films do well. Oppenheimer did great. Paw Patrol this week was the number one movie, Paw Patrol of all things. But why I noticed this trend, and I'm wondering if you have, and why you think that's occurring.
Well, the industry, I've been in the industry for over 40 years, and the industry has always been about content. And people, when there is good content, people will come out to see it. And then people get in trends too. They get in the habit of going to the movie theater. And when they see Barbie, they look around the theater, they come out, they've had a great time. And, that is going to bring them back the next week or the next week. Unfortunately, when you don't have good content out there on a regular basis, then people kind of get out of the habits. We're competing with a lot of other discretionary, things for people to do and how they spend their discretionary dollars. So I think, making it exciting, we always have some kind of value add or something extra with our events that go on. And I think that makes it special for people, and they keep coming back because of that. So I think it's this trending, and it was so great to see Barbie and Oppenheimer and all those, and the way they marketed those two together and everything.
Yes.
It's very, very smart to do it that way. And people enjoyed it, and they tend to come back. So we just need to keep good content coming back to theaters, and I'm very confident that we'll keep audiences coming back as long as there's good content.